Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, I can't wait to really dive into this head first. You guys, Paulie, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, you're good, man.
Okay. All right. I guess you just jump into it. So, Eamon LeBlanc-Shoemaker. Um, I enlisted in the Marine Corps when I was 17, and I think it was two. I took my oath in 2004. Did the delayed entry program to 2005 because apparently you have to graduate high school before they send you to boot camp. I was a little. I couldn't wait to go. I went. I probably graduated in late May 2005, and by June, I wanted that first date out there. My recruiter didn't have to chase me for anything. Um, and as far as reasons why, it in 2020 hindsight, there's probably a whole laundry list of them. But I will say that kind of, and you guys have talked about this in your other podcasts, and how September 11th was kind of a catalyst for a lot of us being young men in contemporary America at the time. I just remember being, I was a freshman in high school, so I was 15, 14 or 15 years old. And I remember that day, like, my physics teacher, Mr. Moriarty, like he checked his whatever email, or probably Yahoo Mail. That's how long ago it was. And he said, "You guys hear what happened to the Twin Towers?" I'm like, no, we had first period. Now we're here in your class. Like, we didn't know. You turned the TV on, and that was it for the rest of the day at school, was just looking at those images. And I remember this, as a teenager, you're very prone to anger and and reactions of that nature. So I remember being angry more, not more so the fact that it had happened. That was definitely a part of it, but the biggest element for me was um, being being helpless, being 15 years old, not being able to do something about it. Not even, I think you have to be 18 to give blood. Like, besides putting together some care packages for FDNY and NYPD, and a few like volunteer runs, like there's really not much I can do as an impact. And I went to school with my brother, and we lived close enough to where we didn't take the bus. So we either got dropped off or we had to walk home. So obviously, we got released. Both my parents work. We were latchkey kids. So we walked home, and it was warm, sunny September day. And I remember walking past this kid playing, like, I mean, kid, like probably like 4 or 5 years old, has absolutely no idea what's going on in the world. And he's playing in his front yard. And as it's like he is gonna grow up in a world where this is his reality. Um, it's like, and I'm as I'm walking home, I'm thinking about this, and it's, you know, and again, it's just this feeling of helplessness that this is going on right now. It's that, and this is gonna domino so many other things across our lifetime. And I was like, you know what? When I do get of age, I didn't know at that point. I developed, my plan to enlist after I decided this. I said, like, when I come of age, I will not let this opportunity pass me by. I will do something. I don't know what that is. I don't know my role is going to be, but I will not. I will never feel this helpless again. Um, and I know you guys have talked about this. One of your guests, his brother went up to Ground Zero. That was a powerful story in and of itself. Um, like it kind of reiterated the fact that so many people had reactions similar to mine. The only difference between me and him was he actually had he had the wherewithal and the and a plan to actually go up there and do something. And again, like probably didn't really know what we were going to do. But I started looking into the military and really just for whatever reason, like no family tradition, no. I mean, both my grandfathers, on my dad's side, Air Force Lieutenant Colonel retired, and fought in World War II, Vietnam, and on my mom's side, Navy. Grandpa, I can't remember his rank or his MOS. I think it was a heavy mechanic on the ship. But not really like a tradition in our family. Like they both had their own separate roles in World War II, and like I said, in Vietnam. So it wasn't like I was following in anybody's footsteps really. But I think you guys might have touched on this um, in one of your other interviews that you're a teenager growing up with two separate campaigns in the war on terror going on. I remember sitting there like football practice got over, he came home. Like I said, like mom was very hardcore about getting homework done. Like, okay, yeah, cool. Can I do it downstairs? Watching CNN, watching Operation Phantom Fury. That was to me like other kids like watching you know like Monday Night Football or cartoons, whatever. I was watching Phantom Fury and watching the work that those guys did. And I was like, I think this is it. I think this is what my part's going to be. Um, so I found the recruiter. He didn't have to come find me. Um, and like I said, I was off to boot camp a month after graduating high school, and see, got out there. I kind of had a little bit of a lag time between uh, getting out of boot camp and going to ITB. So I was home for a little bit and on recruit assistance for a couple of weeks. And to me, it was just like, all right, let's get the ball rolling. Like, it's and I'm doing the exact same thing, watching everything unfold on CNN and MSNBC and Fox News. I'm like, all right, can we jump in the deep end already? So went through ITB, some of the most miserable training ever because I went during the winter months. We started on December 1st, and of course, you guys know North Carolina winters are testy at best. So, um, went through that. I hit the fleet around February 2006, and I got signed to a two-way Fox company. Um, and it was it was definitely a culture shock as far because like these guys it was like a mix of they had just gotten back from their MU deployment, maybe not just got back, but like they were coming like off that lead block and going like the rifle range and all that stuff. And of course, you hit the fleet on a Friday night. Doesn't matter when, and it's like I think it was like probably 7 p.m., 7:30. Like at the time, I think he's a gunner now, but Jackson, Action Jackson, met us up, and got us all the lay of the land and everything. Told us what we were going to need. Got us our rooms assigned. I think it was me and Mike Kamadula were in the same room for a hot minute, and I don't want to throw names or anything, but immediately came in. Somebody asked, what's the mission of the Marine Corps Rifle Squad, and for whatever reason, you know it, you studied it, you could say it frontwards and backwards at boot camp, but somebody like flies your, the door of the barracks room flies open. Somebody asks you that right there on the spot. You just have a mental, you just take a mental dump. You're like, fuck. So, let the hazing commence from there. That was one of those things where I probably just should have, like, because you're still at SOI mode, so you still meet up with all your SOI buddies, like at the hotels and stuff, or out in town, and everybody's talking about what happened their first night and all this other stuff. Like, yeah, me and Mike, they came in, they just, we fucked up, and they just started, doing the was it the Mighty Mouse jumping jacks and the monkey fuckers and all this other stuff, and like so, like I told him that, and like so one of the guys that I don't even remember his name. He heard about it and I guess told his first sergeant. And then obviously, if you hear from something from the top down, especially when it's from somebody at another unit, it's bad. It's always going to be bad. You want to handle stuff in house without anybody, um, you know, uh, without anybody, telling you how to run your shop. So, and I think it probably got a little blown out of proportion. I mean, like Mike and I really didn't care. We were just like, all right, this is just you pay your dues, all right. And fucking best believe we both knew the mission Marine Corps Rifle Squad that Monday morning. But and then it was this weird thing where it's just like people are talking about investigations and like were you guys assaulted with that, and I'm just like thinking like I just want to come here to can we just train, like what the fuck is this
Oh
about?
wow, they actually kind of made it a big deal about it, or
Yeah, exactly. And like where from, I mean, you guys definitely too, like I think like things were starting to change a little bit when it came to stuff like that, but there was still like it's like any tribe. You're gonna have to take your lumps. You're gonna have to put up with it because everybody did. It's just an initiation thing. And they made for whatever reason, they made a big deal about it. Probably the one of the few times I actually saw Captain Mingus getting legit upset. He was like, "Oh, you guys want to fuck with new people?" Or he's like, "Trust me, I got games for fucking days. All right, between recon, being a fucking kill hat, or being a drill instructor, he's like, trust me, we can fucking play games all goddamn day. I would rather teach you guys how to fucking shoot, move, and communicate effectively. But like, and I was like thinking to myself like, oh fuck, man, and like it kind of alienated our little boot drop, saying like, oh, look at these guys like bitching, like that just wasn't the fucking case. So
You went on a hit list, man.
yeah, exactly. And I was like, what a first week. Like this is dynamite. Like how can you beat this? Like I'm Mr. Popular around this place. But it's like such is life, and everything's not stagnant. So like there was a whole like that phased out, like somebody else fucked up something else, and like it was just like like our time had passed. It was just basically kind of like you endure, and then you know you know you, an infantry battalion will never have any shortage of fuck ups. So like somebody else got the story like 2 weeks later, or like
yeah.
then everybody was talking about that. So, but yeah, so from there, like, and I haven't made it through Elijah's full podcast. Like, I've been trying to catch up a little bit. I missed the last couple, so, but I do agree a lot about what he said. From what I've heard, that like that chain of command right there between Captain Mingus and First Sergeant Williamson, Lieutenant Buckley, and just a lot of it was very small unit oriented. And he actually, since we're on the subject now, for that Fallujah deployment, um, I think this was like the first time an actual company did this. They made 4 platoons instead of 3 rifleman platoons and a weapons platoon. So I don't know, Paulie, if you want to weigh in on this, and as being a 51, but it was like, like you think about it, like obviously, like being, having a weapons otherwise, that eventually you're gonna get assigned to one of the riflemen
Yeah.
platoons. Like you just know that going at the gate. Making a fourth platoon means you have to cherry pick. Well, cherry pick, or there's 2 ways to look at it. It's like you either selected or you didn't make the fucking cut. So it's like, I got this reject squad over here, that just none of the other 3 platoons wanted. There's one way to look at it. The other way is like, all right, we're gonna take certain people that we think are gonna work well together. um it was received as, yeah, we were like you know we were the kids in the bicycle helmets, sitting at the end of the bench, we got to have them play, but we'll throw them over in a fourth platoon. So I think that we had like kind of like a chip on our shoulder for that. I don't know if Elijah agrees with me or not, but I thought it was like, you know what, hey, fuck it, you guys think that we're a bunch of misfits, we're gonna act like it. And between the squad leaders and the team leaders, um, basically I had a wealth of information at my disposal. You know, it's, um, Eventually where I ended up, and actually, I trained a little bit under Corporal Meyer, with his 51 fire team. So didn't learn anything nearly as cool as what you guys got to do playing with
Wait,
demos,
so
but
so hang on,
yeah,
because
yeah,
let me just jump in here,
yeah.
because I didn't, when I came from SOI being a weapons guy, assaultman, they dropped me into third platoon, but I didn't understand. So did they in fourth platoon when we got there? They still had the forward line platoon. Did they make like the assault guys like one whole fire team, or did they split them up, but
Uh,
between the squads?
so they basically made the assault guys, at least for us, it was like each squad had like their own specific MOS, whether it was mortars, machine guns, and assaultmen. and they try to keep them together as much as possible.
Oh,
Like,
so they split
yeah,
them up into their own teams in each
yeah,
squad.
yeah,
I
and
got
it just happened to work out that we only had 3 assaultmen, and you obviously need the match number 4.
you.
So
Right.
they're like, all right, yeah, shoot, or they call me Spitshine. Yeah, Spitshine, you're gonna go. You're gonna go hang out with the 51s, and I was like, oh, please teach me something. Please teach me how to blow stuff up, because like obviously hindsight's 2020. Like, yeah, everybody wants to be a rifleman, but like, yeah, but we did that. Like, I want to do both. Like,
Yeah.
everybody wants to be in the stack. I mean, I think the guy with the coolest job is the one blowing the friggin' door. Um, but yeah, so that was that deployment. Like, you guys have already covered that at length with Elijah. That was kind of, it was a good way to get my feet wet, and like that's not like I'm 19 years old at this point, and uh, at the time, Corporal, I think, he retired as sergeant. So Lucia says, "All right, you're walking point," and like I have no idea where I am in the world. I know I'm a fucking dot on a map. It's pitch black out here, because we were working all night patrols, I think, that week, and he's like, "All right, we got to get to this village, and this little compound." He's like, "So basically, just," and I was like, again, 19 years old, don't speak a word of Arabic. There's like sheep farmers doing their thing, and like I have no, like everything's a threat. And like literally, it was just one of those like silent nights where like you can hear a rat piss on cotton, like that's how quiet it is. And just like I'm going like we didn't even have the God, what is it, 7 Bravos that flip down and like they cover both your eyes, but you're only looking out one reticle. Is that right?
Oh,
Am I getting
really?
that?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't ever
yeah,
remember. I think there
yeah.
was still some guys that had those. I think those.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
think there
yeah, there
was.
were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No
and
depth perception
yeah,
whatsoever.
exactly. Fucking nothing. I'm looking through this little green hole. I'm like, I think I probably got maybe 100 meters, 200 meters tops, and I was like, fuck this. And just went off my natural night vision for a little while, because the moon was so bright that like we did have pretty good loom. That was the good part about being there in the summer, besides the 130-degree heat. Um, but yeah, so like that was that deployment. Kind of like, you know, got a few, and like, it wasn't anything very kinetic. I mean, the ID threat was the highest, especially like when we had to start doing truck mounted operations, or anything that had to do with being mounted. The ID threat was a lot bigger. The mortar threat was like, yeah, we probably got mortared, seemed like, almost every week. And yeah, and like there really wasn't much you know, to do there. As far like we didn't have, by the time we left, there was like internet cafe. There was like, there was phones you could use with phone cards and everything. But just one quick story. Like, so like if you got the sat phone, like, do you guys remember being at like after the initial helo insertion, when we were at what, do we even name that outpost?
He calls it the 501 Northing when
The
everybody
five
got.
50 Northing. I just call it OP shithole.
Yeah, OP shithole. So all of us are contemplating our decision to not go to college at OP shithole. Meanwhile, there's an NPR reporter who has a sat phone, so he can stay in contact with his boss and everything. So we had one of those, and it was coveted just as much as that sat phone was from Graham, the NPR reporter. So I just remember calling my mom like for the first time in months, and we'll get like on the phone for maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and just friggin' pop, 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 like just because they would fire mortars in. I think they were doing it out of the back of pickup trucks. I'm not positive on that, but it wasn't like it was like they weren't walking on target. They weren't firing for effect. It was literally just like, all right, yeah, does that look right? Cool. So they basically just blew their load, and I just happened to be standing on I was inside the COC structure, like inside the HESCO, but I was to the closest wall. I wasn't far away from it, but literally like the ground is shaking. And I'm like, hey mom, love you, gotta go. Click. Um, so, and like I think I told one of my team, Andy Powers, about it. He was like, yeah, you're gonna like after, like, because you get to stand to and everything and all this other shit. And he's like, yeah, you're going back to that sat phone and you're telling your mom you're okay. Like, so
Yeah.
it was, yeah. So like I said, like I think I learned a lot about, and I was very fortunate to have some of the best fire team and squad leaders. Not even just to be under, but to observe and kind of and learn from. And I think that's one of my regrets was like and everybody's got different leadership styles. Some people have the open door policy. Some people are like, my squad leader was like, if we're working and you have a question for your team leader that he doesn't know, by all means, you guys can always come to me. When they sound the little bell on Friday, I don't want to fucking see you until Monday morning. And it's like that was his style. I got, and I was just fortunate to see, like, and again, it was from top down. Like, it was a very small unit focus. Like Captain Mingus, he was obviously, this is like a Mogadishu recon sniper Mustang who just didn't. I'm pretty sure he wasn't born with a fuck to give, but he definitely didn't have them while we were in Fallujah. So like he had a whole week dedicated to raids, just raiding different compounds, different houses, different HVTs, different marketplaces. He basically was like, all right, we're just gonna take all this intel. We're gonna do one big sweep against everything that we had, and it was towards the end of deployment, so we could be trusted enough with stuff like this. So he was very First Sergeant Williamson used to tour posts when he first got there, and it wasn't like to catch you doing something or catch you with your gear off or whatever. It was literally like, yeah, tell me about yourself. Like, you guys aren't going anywhere for 8 hours. You're in a freaking closet, so you might as well tell me your story. So he always picked posts to do it. So it wasn't like he was taken away from from your time to rest or get shower or work out or whatever. So I always remember that about him. And team leaders, squad leaders, they're all kind of shit hot, and they're like, we had a couple of guys from Fast Company who I was in the fire team with, and they obviously those guys know anything and everything about Mount, and so like picking their brain, I guess that is one of my regrets was after that deployment I didn't pick their brains more. Like now that I was assigned to be a fire team leader, I didn't get more information from them, because to me it was like, yeah, you don't go to these guys, if it's unless it's something direly important. So so that was that. And then I met you guys, while we were doing the Ramadi buildup, probably in passing, because like I said, we were still the bastard fourth platoon. And then so that was one of the moments where I was kind of like, all right, this is definitely not going to be a career for me, because
Do you mean as after that deployment when you got home?
I think when we first got there. So like a
Okay.
lot of us were like kind of like, we're like, oh, this is going to be more like Fallujah. We're going to kind of we're going to be able to operate, do our own thing. May have to do it, liaise a little bit with Iraqi police and Iraqi army. But and that was, they basically just fucking cherry picked again for fourth platoon. Like, all right, you guys are going to run security for for the combat train, for all the supply trains, and and it was basically like, we're not even with our guys, like we're not even with anybody that's in any of the line platoons. Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Like you got guys like Murdoch and Locke and everything, like they got sent to like headquarters company, or and like sent I don't even know where, to like basically just stand post and and do zero patrolling. I'm not sure about that. You have to ask Locke, but yeah, it's basically just a whole displacement, and I'm just like, this is not what the fuck we're here for. Like,
Yeah,
you guys,
I remember being pretty upset about that. Honestly, once we got there and they broke everybody all apart, like I honestly felt betrayed, kind of, because like, they're just reorganizing everything pretty much. And I was like, damn, like I didn't think I was a shitbag enough to just get completely broken off of the third platoon, because they went up to OP Market and stuff. And I'm just like, that was weird for a lot of guys. Like, what did I do wrong to fucking for you to break me off and send me on my own way?
yeah.
Weird deployment, but yeah, keep going.
No, and yeah, and like it sucks even worse for you guys, because like you didn't know anything. That was like your first. You're like, this is how it is. You guys just fucking toss us to the wind.
I think I had a great first like 2 months before the ginger started fucking up.
How do you say ginger in Spanish, real quick?
I don't know, man. I would probably say like rojito, my
Rojito,
little rojito.
Chito, Rojito.
Yeah, because rojo is red. My rojito.
Wow. It- And then this is what I like about what you guys are doing. It's so easy just to fall back into just talking shit.
Dude, yeah. So no, but I mean, one thing about that deployment too, not just them breaking everything, it fucks with me a little bit because now we're into talking about shit I can contribute. Like, like I've said before, like the first patrol there, like, and just seeing how fucked up that city was and shit, and then we all know nothing really big at all happened
Mhm.
besides the end of that V bid that wasn't really us,
With,
but
with Yale, yeah.
so but then after that, I remember hearing about. I think it was 1-9 that ripped us. I remember going. I went on one or two dismounted patrols with. Was it 2-7 that we ripped out? It was 2-5. It was some.
It
It was
was
some Cali unit.
It
yeah,
was two
Cali
seven.
unit. Yeah.
And those guys, like I remember their fucking squad leader. He was a fucking cool ass dude. He was nice as hell to me and like trying to teach me everything. Those guys got fucked up, dude. They had bad sniper problems. He was like telling me shit about how like certain compounds like watch these areas and like he's like because they'll wait till you're patrolling and your back's to them and then fucking hit you in the back and shit. Um and I'm like, "Oh, fuck, like, this is gonna be kinda crazy," and then nothing really happens, but then 1-9 rips us out, and those dudes had bad S-Vest problems, they had fucking checkpoints getting fucked up, and, like, I'm like, it just made me not at the time, I'm like, "What the hell is, like, going on? How is nothing really happening?" But then afterwards thinking about it and being like, what did we do so right? Or was it just um when we had General Gronsky on here, that I had a question for him. I was asking about that because I know that was his AO, and I was like, did you have lulls in combat the time you're there? Because it was just shortly before we got there, and he's like, no, not really. And I'm like, that just left me to question what happened for that period of time, like 6 months, where we weren't really getting in any shit at all. I refer to it more like a humanitarian effort almost. We're giving the kids food and blankets and paying them and shit like that. Um,
I will say this, like the OP South, OP Canal area, and the battalion security area below Malab. Whenever we rip with those 2-7 guys, they used to say like that's where they're coming from, like pumping weapon systems through like from like Fallujah and shit. It was like so you got to watch that area, and I know that entire area was filled with sensors because we did a lot of sensor patrols, and I know a lot of that area was being like watched. So
mm,
I'm not too sure if like there was like a logistical cut in terms of like the city and what was being like brought into it. Um, and I also know like from like the from like first platoon's point of view. No, I think I was with second platoon at that time now. We were just overtly aggressive, dude. Like we did back to back raids in our districts, and like we did not fucking let up at all whatsoever. And it kind of got us in trouble with the local population because they're like, "Why are you Why are you kicking in my door at 0 dark 30?" And there's no like kinetics going on.
yeah,
But yeah, man, no, I like it's a trip. It's a trip. Hearing Gronsky's point of view, then hearing these guys' point of view, and just fucking not seeing anything.
yeah,
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure you guys have, buddies that were in different units. And one of my friends from high school, he went to 1-6, and I was in Fallujah, he was in Ramadi. And to him, it was like, and I told him about it like when I was coming back. I was like, dude, like I struggled to find our sense of purpose, honestly, because of like how, I mean, obviously the SV bit um, at the very end. But I was like, swapping stories between Fallujah and Ramadi, and like, he gave me maps, he gave me like every freaking piece of intel he could ever find. I was like, dude, like, it's like it is night and day to know what the tempo of the city was and what it is now. And like same thing that Paulie was getting at earlier. Like you're looking at entire sides of buildings that are just full of 50 cal holes, and that have already been bombed out from like airstrikes, and it looks like the apocalypse just happened here.
yeah, for
And
real.
people are still like going to like open up their bodega shop or whatever at the
Yeah,
market, like, oh yeah, like, yeah, this is life. It's like
yeah,
what, you know um So that was again, like I'm trying to just wrap up my little intro, but so after that, like, and again, I think it's tough worse for you guys because like you get displaced. I don't know if you felt that way or not. I definitely did. And I was just like, I'm basically doing a gunny's job of worrying about like beans, bullets, and band-aids. And it was like me and what was it, Nick Frew, like we're basically just kind of like his liaison to doing that. And you're going on convoys every day, but it's combat is not your orientation, and you're just thinking like, hey, whatever, I'll give it the time that I have left, and and I'll give this college thing a try. So I was like kind of dead set on getting out and start my next chapter. And obviously, like, but I think whether it was happenstance or good luck or whatever it was, but I got back with enough time left on my initial contract where I was able to do the workup with you guys, going to AP Hill, still going to CAX and everything. And it wasn't so much that because they even asked like, I gonna re-enlist, I gonna extend, like whatever. I was like, if we go, and I remember like I actually I had a beer with Lieutenant Wendy, definitely off the books because I wanted an honest answer, so I went to him, and he even said, he's like, from what I know now and from like all our meetings and everything, he's like, it looks like it's going to be another Ramadi tempo deployment. He's like they're looking at where they're going to send us, but it's going to be missions probably going to be more similar to that. It's like, all right, so I just wanted an honest answer. I didn't want a freaking I didn't want them dangling the carrot for me just to because they needed an extra body on the roster. So I was like, all right, I'm dead set on getting out. And I'm sure you guys remember battalion commander bringing everybody together. Hey, like putting his cell phone in his pocket, saying, "I just got off the phone with whoever from from command. We're all going to Afghanistan."
Yeah.
Um,
Do you want to know why? From what I remember is because the way we ran range 400.
okay.
Um, I think it was a couple of the ranges the Coyotes like reported back, and I think command knew at the time that was coming down the pipe, and they were like um checking, or using CAX as like the pre-screening to who the fuck's ready. And honestly, that is one thing that I am uh grateful for in the Ramadi deployment, with it being non-kinetic but being in country and all the shit like that we still learn on patrolling and communicating, that fucking helped us big time. And but yeah, at CAX, we ran like the 410A and 400, and the Coyotes like reported back, and that's what made us get slotted for the push in there. From what I heard, anyway. Um,
No, I
once they green lit it, they were like, "Yep, let them know they're fucking going." And so
yeah, and I mean, I'm sure Jose he had the exact same reaction. I actually didn't know about the Coyotes kind of giving us the that report card and saying like that
yeah.
if you're gonna use somebody, you should use 2-8. Um, so that would
Well, and I
I,
don't know what it was.
I had no
I
idea.
I I didn't know what it was at the time, but I know w- once after the fucking Ramadi deployment, they broke it back down into the uh three platoons and a weapons platoon. I think because they kind of reconsidered that. And I mean, you guys remember Fox Weapons platoon was pretty good to go. And
Always
the
was.
I think it was the way that we had integrated like the machine guns, assaultmen, and everything on those ranges, because those are combined arms, mortars dropping, and you got machine gun hill and fucking assault hitting the fake tanks, BMPs out there.
Yeah.
I think that's how, not that I'm not trying to take credit, but the way we work together as a company and like platoons and as a unit, that's what they're like. All right, if they're going into Afghanistan, this is going to be kind of what they're looking at doing. Not mount town door to door shit there. And they're like, these guys got it. Like they got it together, which is really kind of crazy because we didn't, we had that whole Ramadi deployment where we didn't utilize a weapon system like that. And so yeah, but that's the word I got on that. So.
No, I'm glad you told me. I had no idea. I mean, we're talking what now, 10, 12 years later?
Yeah, you're like, why they
I
pick us?
no,
But
yeah, it's like I just thought it was like I don't know, like
dude, and one
that's
thing too, not to keep cutting in, but I remember my dad told me after after I got out, he was like, "Man, I remember watching you guys because in the Ramadi deployment, I mean, there was a lot of us boot new guys there, and my dad was like, "Man, when you guys were leaving to get on the buses, I just remember thinking, damn, these are just a bunch of fucking kids." Like he said, but when we left for Afghanistan, he was like, he said it kind of gave him chills. He's like, "Holy shit, these fuckers look mean. Like they're pissed off and ready, like ready." So
Yeah, hell hath no fury like an infantry teenager or 20 something that that really just wants to be unleashed.
yeah, for sure.
That's yeah, and that's I mean, like, and I consider myself again, like I was actually making some notes after I was reading your questions that you sent me. One of my regrets I think was um I was in the mindset of like, all right, I'll stick around, like, and I was like Captain Dabs's chauffeur or whatever, like throughout most of CAX, and they're basically just like finding stuff for me to do. They're like, well, we got an extra body, you'll drive the Humvee, you'll do something. Um, so I was already in the mindset of like, all right, my time will eventually come, and then I'll be out, I'll EAS before you guys even go off to what a time I thought was going to be another another Iraq deployment. Um, so I was if the dogs bug you, just tell me, so I don't want them
No,
uh,
you're good, man.
getting in the background. All right,
No, you're
but you know, throughout that whole time, I was in that mindset of like, all right, I'm not going to build any relationships with anybody because it's going to end in 8, 9 months, whatever time I had left. So I didn't like self alienate, but like it wasn't like we were all crushing 40s on the on the catwalk together. Um, right after, um, so literally like right after the BC says, all right, I just got the phone call. This is what we're gonna do. Went right to the career retention specialist. Have no idea what his name is. Literally said extension paperwork, just make it blank. I'll sign it. Just as long as I can stay with the team. And so I was like, all right. And for something like that, you needed every chain of command approval from platoon level up. So I had to go to Staff Sergeant Hawks, Lieutenant Wendy. I had to go to the CO. Lieutenant Wendy brought it to the CO. But like it basically has to go like from you sign it and then everybody else in chain of command signs it. So it's like, all right, that's it. And Wendy literally, he's looking at it. He's like, "It's what you want to write." I'm like, "Just sign the fucking thing, please." and yeah. So and I remember, um, oh my God, Bobby Kang. After we got back, yeah, right. I've never mentioned his name without somebody just going like, "Oh man, that kid." Like,
yeah.
like talk about an anomaly. If you guys can track him down and like find a way to interview him, like I'll give you a job as with our fugitive unit. Because like he has legit fallen off the grid.
Has he
Uh,
really?
Yeah, I
I
can't find
I
him anywhere.
Dude,
yeah.
that fucker, I remember he was always good to go, dude, but I remember he lost it in Ramadi or something, and he was like walking in one of the shower trailers with a fucking knife, like air knife fighting like Herrera would do outside the barracks and shit, dude. Like, but he was like mad. I don't know what happened to him, but he was wigging. I'm
Dude,
like, damn, you good, bro. Fuck.
dude, oh my God, I mean, just like a little caveat, but I remember one time he was leaving the barracks or something. It was like him and it was him and no, I think it was just him. And I was like, "Hey, Bob, what's going on, brother?" And he's like, "Oh no, just heading off, just gonna do some fishing." And I was like, "Bobby, you don't have a fishing rod." He's like, and then he like kind of like gave like that Freudian slip of like looking down like at his belt or whatever, and he's got a Bowie knife or he's got something, whether it's a tracker knife or whatever. I'm like, this Laotian savage is going to wade in like the Carolina weeds and just wait for a fish to get close enough, and he's gonna fish with a knife.
Yeah.
And he came back with I think two. It was definitely more than one, so at least two. And I'm like, holy shit! Like
Yeah,
this
he's a
is
savage.
yeah, absolutely. So like, and I'm kind of glad that we started talking about that and like everybody, and he's very well respected amongst his peers and his superiors too.
Yeah.
So I always held him in a very um, you know, I always held him in that manner. So um, we were all just, I think it was like something like, it was definitely a Friday or Saturday night, and somebody had the grill going um, on the catwalk, and it's whatever. Like it's, I think I came back from the gym, everybody was already out, kind of like cooking burgers and and crushing beers and everything. I was like, all right, me being the scumbag I am, I always kept 40s in my in my fridge. Like with all these like good old boys from from the South and Midwest and everything. They're like, man, what's that? I'm like, hey, this is the greatest invention known to man, because you guys are pissing away like $15 on 12 beers, and like this cost me $1.29 at the at the exchange, and I got 8 of them. So and yeah, so I was definitely a scumbag. Still had to pay the bag on too. But so grabbed one, came out, and just shooting the shit with like like Chesney and whoever else was there, but Bobby was there, and I remember like sat down like, hey, what's good, dude? How you doing? And he's like shoot, and like it was one of those like everybody else that was around us, like that was it wasn't white noise. It was like everybody just might as well shut the fuck up, because I had no idea what they were saying. He looked at me. He's like, I am so glad. I was so glad to hear that you're gonna be coming with us. And it was one of those ones where it's like, do not fucking cry in front of Bobby Kang. He's gonna murk you on the spot. But it was, and like having like knowing that, and knowing that someone like him appreciate the fact that I want to stay on board. I want to stay with the tribe. Um, that's I was like, all right, now I think all these years later, this is what my role is going to be. Like what 15 years old, September 11th just happened. I had no idea what my contribution was going to be. Now that Bobby kind of put things into context, whether he meant to or not, I was like, all right, this is going to be, um, yeah, this is going to be what I was intended for. Um, and obviously the rest is history, because you guys were. I don't have to explain what happened after that, but I will say, being a fire team leader, that was like to me like that was the ideal position to be in, because it's like that's your tightest unit. That's who. That's how you can take care of everybody the most, because like you are, you're there linked to the rest of the chain of command, and or you're there linked to other resources. So I was always big on being a fire team leader, but I also had people in my fire team didn't have to worry about, you know, whether it was fucking Josie or Doc or anybody. Like it was just an easy job, because you guys are all shit hot. Um, and then when Grubbs got sent on the medevac after, I think it was his third concussion or whatever, was it 3? Was that the magic number?
I don't
And,
I
yeah.
don't
So
know.
and
I
the
know a little bit about that, and I mean I wasn't in obviously in y'all's platoon. I'm sure you could spitball about this for hours, but I do remember we ran up from Masood and saw him up at fuck, where were we going, Delhi or somewhere, where we went back to. We only did like one or two mobile runs from Masood because it was fucking way down there and just sketchy to drive that road. But I remember seeing him after he got medevaced out of there. And well, I don't want to go into respect or anything things, but about him specifically. But I remember seeing him up there, and he just came up and was like chipper as fuck, dude. Like talking to us, and I had realized that he had just left and been pulled out of there. And I know this was after the Vincent thing and everything, and that patrol. But I was just like, after that happened, and I saw him, and I know he left. He went home like he went home like midway through the deployment, right? Or he left
uh,
country early, right?
he could have. I'm not. I'm honestly like to it. I didn't really ask too much about it. I didn't ask
Yeah.
Lieutenant Wendy or Hawk Dog about him too much, because
No, I
you know
think I think everybody realized he didn't need to be where he was at. I
yeah.
mean, anymore at that point. But I
So
just remember like he came up to us, our mobile convoy, and it was all dudes from third that were up
yeah,
there, and he was
yeah,
just like so happy, and I'm just like, dog, like I knew what happened. I wasn't up there with you guys, but I knew what happened, and I'm like, you just
yeah,
fucking like left like your squad's down there still, and you're up here like trying to bullshit all happy. I'm like, yeah, man,
yeah,
that ain't
yeah.
that ain't right, but.
Oh,
So he got medevaced out, and then you
yeah.
and
And
then
then
you
it was not a second wasted. Lieutenant Wendy and Sergeant Hawk, or Staff Sergeant Hawks, pulled me aside, said, "Hey, Shu, it's your show now." I'm pretty sure my heart sank all the way to the back, to the down, to the bottom of my spine, and I'm just thinking to myself like, fuck, like I have no, was it Islic? I have no Islic background. All right, I like, I know what I have from experience, but like formal training, fucking like all right, let's fucking roll with it. And yeah, like, and they said, they were great about it. They were like, if you find anything that's like overwhelming, or if there's stuff you need to know, like, to use this as a resource, especially Hawk. He was always, I mean, he was there no matter what. Didn't matter what your rank was, he was always there for you. Didn't even matter if you were in his platoon or not, and you needed him. He would always be there. So I was fortunate to have that to fall back on, but obviously, like my sinful pride wouldn't let me, or like, didn't think, if you have to ask for help, like, you shouldn't be in that position. I think it's just a very, um, you really can't learn or grow well with that kind of mentality. But again, like, it was one of those like moments where it's like, all right, fuck it, like, we'll see if this works. um and again, like, might have been happenstance, might have been fate, might have been whatever, but I had between Josie and Shrek. um do we have three fire teams, Josie, or just basically just you two?
Yeah, we did. We had it was me, you, Colwell,
Yeah,
Shrek, Zimmerman,
yeah,
Morgan, Jacquees, and then Dabo ended up fucking
yeah,
doing double patrols.
yeah. Oh man, look, speaking of savages,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
actually, Josie, you pronounce it wrong. It's the Dabo.
Yeah,
So
the Dabo.
put
Last, I was
put
telling Polly last time with Dabo, we ended up fighting like half of LA.
Oh my god. I legit thought of like someone is gonna die tonight, and I don't get. Do you remember this? Like, I'm sure Paul, you've heard this story, right?
I don't know if I go ahead and run with it.
All right, so fucking, I mean, uh, rest in peace. Kohler um, had his funeral ceremony in Orange County. So like, it was, we went there, and like, we went to the after gathering, like, met his family, met his friends from, from his home and everything. I can't remember which town it was. I just know it was Orange County. So Locke being it, I will say one thing about Locke, like, logistically, like, he is squared away. Like, when it comes to traveling, he set up the Airbnb. He knew which
Yeah, yeah.
restaurants we were going to go. He's like, we're going to dinner here. We're going to get drinks after this. Like, and he knew the lay of everything. And like, rest of us were like, all right, you wrote the itinerary. We'll just tag along. So, I do remember Dabo. Sorry, the Dabo. I'll haze myself later. He was still contracting, right, Josie? Yeah. So, he was flying in from Baghdad, I think, like, directly to LAX. So literally changed from whatever the fuck he was wearing, working for Blackwater, Triple Canopy, or whoever, got into a three-piece tux because he thought that, like, he was like, fuck it, I already bought it, I'm wearing it. And then, like, went to dinner, like, we all checked in the Airbnb, and like, everything was cool. It was actually, like, a pretty cool setup, like, despite the fact there's six dudes, or in this thing. Colwell had the smart idea. Him and Josie stay with your sister, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 2020 hindsight, that was the right way to go. But so Dabo, like, basically meets us there, gets changed, and or maybe he was already changed, I don't fucking know. But like, he shows up wearing a three-piece suit. Like, this guy is looking like, like he's coming from a GQ photo shoot, right?
Yeah.
And he yeah, so like, like, and Dabo, like, doesn't drink because he knows how he gets when he does drink. So he was basically, I think he ordered like a rum or something, like a rum neat, like a nice. This was like a nice bar. It was like a nice L.A. bar. I think we were in Hollywood, actually.
Yeah,
Um,
it was like a French. It was like a soft strip club.
yeah,
Oh,
and
was
like they,
it?
they, they had, like, it wasn't like burlesque dancers, but it was like, like, they did like the aerial, with is it acrobatics or like whatever, but like, basically, like, the girl, like, she
Yeah.
like comes down from the rafters, and like,
Like
she
Moulin
tries to
Rouge.
spin it.
With
Yeah,
the fucking
exactly.
rope or the lace rope or
Yeah,
whatever it is.
exactly. Yeah.
All of us fell in love with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh yeah, dude. She would have made a great ex-wife. But yeah. So like, and like, I would say, like, Locke picked this place. Like, I think they kind of gave me a little bit of pushback at the door, because like, I had, like you could wear a T-shirt, but they just didn't want anything printed on it. So the guy was like, "Yeah, man, you're supposed to, but it's fine." So so I was fine with
Hold
it.
up real quick.
Yeah.
LA culture, bro. I cannot stand it. So we went to this fusion bar, and there was this like group of people, and I guess the thing was, the trend of the day was wearing like sweatsuits, like sweatpants.
Yeah.
And I'm not lying to you, these people had left the restaurant, gone to the same bar. They were allowed in looking like they
Like
had just woken up from,
What?
a nap or something in sweats.
yeah.
And then they ended up like stopping us at the doorway because of this guy's shirt.
it and it wasn't even like it had words on it. It was just like I think it was like it was a Zero Foxtrot shirt. It just had like the skull with like the American flag on the sleeve. Like that was
Right.
really it. But just to put it in context, Polly, like you ever see The Big Lebowski?
Yeah.
So the dude, he was at that bar. Like that's how people dressed, and they were still like like oh, but he's wearing like a Gucci robe. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
come in. Like like oh, we're like are you for real? Whatever. But yeah, so that was the other one caveat. So like obviously like we're in a fucking very well established place, with the entertainment, the drinks, and everything. So like, and there's probably 6 of us, Josie, you and me, Coldwell, Dabo, Locke, Zim. So yeah, 5 or 6. Anyway, so like everyone's buying rounds, everyone's putting stuff on each other's tabs, and
McChesney and McChesney.
McChesney. Oh, sorry, Brock. But yeah, Cheesy was there too, and so like somewhere throughout the night, Dabo's 3-piece suit starts coming off one piece at a time, and different women around the bar are wearing it. And because Davo went, let me get a rum, and then he had a second one, and then like obviously like that opened the floodgates, and
Yeah.
so he's walking around fucking shirtless, and they were giving me shit for the T-shirt I was wearing. So and obviously like and these are like it's like Hollywood bouncers, like they're all big dudes, but this, as we all know, this is the Dabo. If there was one
Right.
person that you can like emphatically say was built for combat, it's this guy. So there's like they went to like go approach him like, hey dude, put your shirt back on. He's kind of like, I think Locke stopped them because they're like, hey man, he's got to put your shirt back on. I was like, all right, I will go speak to him because he knows me. If you guys go speak to him, someone's going to be missing some teeth. All right.
Yeah.
I don't. There's 4 of you, so it's going to be maybe 1 or 2, but like let me go and talk to him. So he puts his shirt back on a little bit, still unbuttoned, whatever. And goes back to the exact same thing. I don't know how many times the security actually had to come up to Locke to tell him about that. He's just like, and I eventually got to the point where they're like, dude, you guys got to go. Like, you got to set up your tab. And shout out to Brock for settling up my tab and grab my credit card, or else we had to go back the next day. That would have been fun. So they're like, look, dude, he's got to go. And like, so Calvin's trying to like coax him towards the door. I don't even know if we got most of his suit back. There's probably a couple of girls still wearing it. But so it got to a point to where they were like, Dabo's like slowly egressing out of it, and but like it just one of the guys said something, or maybe he went to go like put his hands on it, and Dabo just like, don't you fucking touch me, motherfucker. And like I could see the terror in this bouncer's eyes. And I'm pretty sure he shit himself just a little bit. Like, because when Dabo tells you don't fucking touch me, like you might as like you want to cut your own hand off. And like so that like he just started seeing red, and we're all like, all right, like Calvin and everybody like they just like start shoving all of the rest of the group out. So we were kind of like spilling onto like Hollywood Boulevard, to where Dabo attempts to fight literally anyone on the street. This is like a Friday or Saturday night in Hollywood. So he's screaming at Uber drivers, like everything. I'm just like, and I was like, hey Mo, like look at me for a second, dude. Like I'm trying to like reel him in a little bit, and he's just like, I was like, look Mo, you gotta like you gotta work me a little bit here. And he's just like, and like he still had that fucking 1,000-yard stare like right through it, but it was like as intense as you can get. And he's saying, and I was just like, it was like, Dabo, please don't hit me. Like and he was like, I'm not. He's screaming, like, I'm not gonna hit you. But he looks over my shoulder and sees like an Uber driver, like I don't know, like somebody just like waiting by their car. He's like, I'm gonna fuck you up though. And that guy he could have gotten in his car faster and sped off. And so like yeah, got in the Uber. Somehow we thought it was a good idea for Dabo to sit in the front seat, making the exact same stare at that Uber driver. So whoever's that was, your rating's going down like by half at least. And like got him back, he passed out. He was up and gone before anybody else in the Airbnb was done. He was like, all right, hey, like send everybody a separate text, like, good to see you guys. You know, be safe, safe travels back. You know, like hit me up on Instagram or whatever. I'm like, all right, well, this is just quintessential. Like, it doesn't matter how quote unquote grown up we all become. You put enough personalities that know enough about each other, like in a in a situation like
Right.
that, it's something is going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. Something's going to happen. So that
Yeah.
was yeah. So thus ended the story of of Dabo trying to fight all of Hollywood.
So yeah, I think what brought that up is you guys were running through who your the squad and teams were in Afghanistan
Yeah.
in '09.
Uh yeah. I bet. So I think I basically had to split. And Josie, correct me if I'm wrong though. What's up?
No, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
All right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I was running with two fire teams, or at least two fire team leaders. Um, it was Josie and Shrek. All right, Josie, I can count on him for anything. The kid was like, and this is not me blowing smoke because you had me on here. I put you guys both in for commendations because I wouldn't have had any success whatsoever if I didn't have you and Shrek to fall back on. Between what you guys knew about the radios, um, you know, Shrek came from Fast Company, so like basically you put a weapon in his hand, he can keyhole any shot group. And like I never really looked at our squad for some reason as an echelon. It was basically just like, all right, that's third squad. Like you guys are just we're just one kind of synchronized, not maybe not synchronized. We are still bastard kids in some facet, but like it I never really had to like structure it that way. It was basically just like it got to the point to where like the only contribution I was making was like, all right, I fill out the mission card and make sure everybody has what they need. Like, the show just kind of ran itself because you guys were so just so good at what you did and professional about what you did, minus all the antics. Um, and that's where I learned a lot about. I think leadership is a lot more personality driven than training driven. And like you can do corporal's course and 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 do ISLIC and everything else and like have all these skills, but when it comes down to and I think a lot of the weapons NCOs, this is what I kind of like covertly learned from them was that like whether it's Papa G or Paulie, help me out. Who was the 31 section leader?
Holton.
Holton, yeah. So watching them interact with their guys and kind of cherry picking from like and like I never asked them a single thing. Again, one of the things I always regret was never picking the brains of the people that you're covertly learning from. But just seeing like it's basically just you're there to advise and you're there to you're obviously there to give commands and and still effectively lead them in and out of combat, but you don't it doesn't really have to be a top down approach. It's like you're a grown ass man who signed the exact same oath that I did, so I will treat you as such. If you fuck up, you got to get an ass chewing. Like stuff happens, but I never thought that like having an environment like that was really conducive to any kind of success. And like whether it's I don't care what job or what field you're in, but I learned a lot about myself through that. And I don't know, like I never thought I would have the opportunity to do it, but I always kind of like in the back of my head was like, all right, if you do, um, this is how you're gonna do it. Like, I mean, like as far as like hazing, putting your hands on somebody, making them stand at parade rest, it just, and I'm sure Elijah touched on it too with his podcast. It's more of like that's what a weak or someone who's mentally weak or not confident in their own ability as a leader. That's the approach they take. Um, yeah, it's I think that respect is always earned and never given. And I spent whatever remaining months that we had trying to earn every last one of your guys' respect. Uh, and I mean, still to this day, I think I think I'm still trying to do that. But that was yeah. So of all the shit that happened on that deployment, I think that I learned the most about myself. I learned the most about you guys, and like yeah, for whatever happenstance or fate or whatever you want to call it, I would not look back at my time in the Marine Corps, the short 4 years, 10 months it was. I would not. I would have a totally different outlook, I think. And I think that I learned so much, not only from like what we were doing, but I learned so much from each of you. Um, yeah, it's just one of those things. Like I know you guys have, um, you guys have lieutenant colonels and generals and everybody that can, you know, that knows what real, large unit leadership is. But just that kind of like intimacy of like you guys teaching me a lot, um, about myself, about be yourselves and tell me your story, and it was just something that I'll always treasure. And again, this is not blowing smoke or anything, just because I'm on here, but I still look back at that those few months and just saying like, you know what, I probably wouldn't even be the same person I was if I wasn't kind of like thrown into the deep end. It's like just see if he swims. Just like I said, like medevac grubs, and from then it was like I kind of like I hit the ground running, and like I was just hoping like you know I mean, obviously, like you're gonna come across different challenges no matter what your job is. But for me, it's like, well, now I went from being responsible for 4 people, myself and 3 in the fire team. Now I'm in like some of those foot patrols had 30 plus in them with attachments and rincon and trying to like take out the CEO or like whatever. Like, I'm looking at this like mission car going like, I'm this is a fucking platoon size element almost. Like, it was just something I never saw myself doing, but I don't think I would. I wouldn't trade it for the world. As scared shitless as I was, when I was thrown into it.
Yeah, there's something interesting about that. Like you were saying, as far as like the kind of personal development you experience in those situations where, maybe if you had not ever been put in that situation, would you have developed differently as a person? And I think to be able to look back and reflect on like situations like that you go through and really appreciate them for what they were and appreciate the things you learned, and that truly is what growth is. Obviously, I don't feel like you would have been put in that position if people didn't already trust you and kind of maybe see those things in you that you maybe didn't see for yourself. So um but yeah, I mean, I'm with you there. You never know what. It's funny too, because people that don't understand what combat is like, and me and Herrera have talked about some things kind of off mic, just about how certain individuals, you know, you wouldn't think they would do so good, but they fucking shine like beyond expectation. People can talk about a situation like combat or what they would do here, what they would do here, but you don't really know until you're facing it. And obviously a reason why we wanted to bring you on here is just because I see you. I haven't really talked to you at all, but I see you. I follow you on social media, try to keep tabs on you, but check into how you're doing, and you fucking look like you're just enjoying life and doing great. And to know kind of what your story was during the time we served together and shit, and seeing you just getting after life still, that's what I like to see and hear about. And that's why I wanted just to hear your full story, because obviously you're still, like many of us, deeply attached to that experience and that time in your life. But it's obviously made you a successful individual, and still grateful and prideful to your country. And it's just awesome hearing that shit. um Something I think maybe we could go into now is how your time has been after leaving service, kind of what happened for you there, um, you know, directly after you left, and then, where how you're doing now, what you're up to.
Yeah, I like the bubblies, man.
Yeah, bubbly's good. Dude, I mainly just drink water and fucking seltzer and well, and
Hey,
coffee.
shoot, what do you drink? Pure fucking Guinness?
Coffee and beer
Huh?
too.
Pure Guinness.
Embrace your stereotypes, because we all know that's all you really have. All right. So this shit has
Oh
like.
my god.
So I use it as pre-workout most of the time, but like
Pre-
I was just yeah. So like anything bang related is like, I know it's probably fucking terrible for you, but
Dude,
like,
do they sell Rippets up anywhere near you guys? They sell Rippets in the
Oh yeah.
fucking gas
the,
station, dude.
the
Oh yeah.
motherfucking
Like
Dollar
the
General,
40 size ones.
Yeah, yeah.
the Dollar General store. That's the only place I've ever seen that, like, and I was like, I ain't paying a fucking buck for that. Like, but like seeing something like that is just like people like this is a. I thought it was just like a government contracted energy drink
Yeah,
or whatever. It's
yeah.
like you will strictly sell to you guys. I'm like, people pay for this shit. Like,
Dude, most of the time I see those tall cans are like 99 cents. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
yeah,
That's a
that,
fuck. Yeah. Fuck
that,
that.
that's a little too much for my taste. Just knowing what they are. Like, oh god, and that's all you really can do. Like, I've only seen them at up here. We have the Dollar General, which is like just
Right.
your run of the mill dollar store. It's the only place I've ever seen them.
Yeah.
So
So, dude,
but
no, before the break, I was just gonna say if you want to go into kind of just after you left, what you did and where you're at now, and kind of some of the things
yeah,
you've gone through.
one of it's from EASing and everything, and like kind of it's a weird time because it's transition, not because of the transition itself, but like I think that individually you can set yourself up for success afterwards. There are some guys who literally just like or girls that are just they just want to EAS, they just want to figure it out afterwards. It's basically it's just person dependent. So there's really no cookie cutter way to I think go about it. Um, I was a little fortunate because one of my buddies who was in Ramadi 16, the same kid, he was working for like a security company that he basically just said, um, he's like, hey, I can get you a corporate security gig, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, like it's yours if you want it. So I was like, well, it's gonna save me a lot of hassle having to like do interviews and stuff. So he set me up with that, um, and so I did all my VA comp and pen examinations and everything in the meantime before I actually started working. And so that's one thing I'll always say that like you have to stay on top of stuff like that, especially now that we're kind of getting a little down the road with and I know we're all broke bodies in some way, but you got to stay on top of something like that because no one's going to do it for you. But so as far as my transition went, I went straight from it was I mean shit, dude, like we were home. When did we get home? November of '09.
I think yes.
Yeah.
No,
So
I don't remember the day exactly, but it
yeah, no,
was
I'm thinking the time frame.
November 18th.
Okay.
November 18th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It was right before Thanksgiving. So in November, came home after the leave block or whatever. I did steps and taps. Got out. Like I said, by that point, my buddy had already kind of offered me that job, and I was like, all right, cool. So like by I think February around time February 2010, I was getting out, and I was like, all right, job's taken care of. I just got to worry about finding a place and and just start the journey or start the next chapter from there. And I think that I may have thought that it was going to be, oh yeah, it's just you're done with this, and now you're done with this chapter, and you start the next one. I went straight to the corporate environment, which it wasn't quite Wolf of Wall Street, but it was those types of people coming straight from Helmand Province, Afghanistan to that.
Right.
Again, like it's basically like I mean, not to talk shit on any job, but I was pretty much a glorified receptionist. Like every now and again, I would have to watch the CEO's like house or whatever because he didn't want people fucking around with it while he was in Martha's Vineyard. But um, it right, yeah, third world problems right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, but it's just like the amount of the team I worked with, like couple of vets on that too, like um, reservist Marine Corps vets, and like they were good to go. I liked everybody I worked with, but the people that I worked for, I'm not gonna say the name of the company, but just the way they treated you, like everybody talks down to you. Everybody, everybody's got more important shit to do than like what you're having them do. Like, and basically all they were doing is just like kind of like checking in with me, and I was just sending where they need to go. But um, everybody's always in a rush, and you're taking up their time, and like it was more toxic for me to be in that environment because guess what? In corporate America, you can't choke somebody out, all right? Or it's frowned upon if you like knock someone's friggin' if you knock someone's two front teeth out because they're being a condescending prick to you. It's a little frowned upon. But so I did just under a year of that, and I even told my buddy, I was like, dude, like don't get me wrong, like good money, good hours, everything. Like it's just this place is gonna fucking undo me real quick. I'm like, he's like,
Yeah.
"No, I totally get it." And I think that was when I was kind of talking to my uncle a little bit. He works, or he just retired from UMass Boston up here. He told me as soon as I got home, he's like, "All right, so you want me to set you up with the VA rep? They actually have a VA director at the school, Gus Silva. He's great as far as the resource goes." And he's like, "Yeah, he's a good friend. If I want, I can set you up a meeting." I was like, I think I'll do it on my own." Again, like that sinful pride to not seek out help or not seek out resources and just you're be a self-sustaining individual. Um, Also a huge mistake was not doing that. So once I finally met with him, again, and this took like a year and a half to just get to that point because I wasn't thinking GI Bill, I wasn't thinking college. I was just like, I haven't been in a classroom in however many years. Like I don't even know what I would, what my expectation would be if I can still do it. So and give me a weapon system, give me an objective, and a group of guys to do it. And we can retake Mount Iwo Jima. But or sorry, Mount Sarabachi. But like, for this, for whatever reason, I was like, and the funny thing is, like, I don't know if you guys still talk to Paulo Marquez. He was going through something similar where like the classroom for some reason scares you, or you just think that it's not for you. Again, it's the wrong attitude to have, especially because up here it's money on the table, I think, and it's a good way to learn and grow. Um, but so that was my attitude going into it. So I got hooked up with Gus Silva. He's the VA rep, and he put me in contact with this program called Veterans Upward Bound that's run strictly at UMass Boston. And it's if you like you literally just give me your DD-214, they pretty much take care of the rest. And it's a college prep course for people in your shoes. So there's a couple of OIF and OEF vets in there too. There was also guys that were in the Gulf War, guys and girls in the Gulf War that were doing it. And that was a good kind of like reintegration into the educational into the scholastic world. So after that, I started and I did well for whatever reason. I just did well. I realized that I liked writing, um, especially because we had a Vietnam Army vet as our English professor, Dr. Caputo, and he encouraged you to tell your story and about. He's like, if you want to write about something, he's like, it's just me reading it. I don't have to report it to anybody. He's like, you can tell me about your experiences, tell me about what you're going through, and this is somebody that you know um, somebody that can relate in a different platform, and so that was a huge leg up for me, and I kind of just had that same chip on my shoulder, like you know what, I was never a good student. I was never, I was pretty much like C's and D's get degrees, and after that I was just like, you know what, fuck this, I'm gonna chain smoke classes all year long. I finished with 2 bachelors in 3 years. Um, in communication, criminal justice, and it was all just kind of like a big fuck you to the education systems, that you know that basically told me I was never going to be good enough, and you're probably meant to be a grunt because you really don't have anything cut out for you besides that. Um, it's like and like I was, I kind of took it as a slight against me. So like I think graduated like a 3.97 GPA, and the funny thing was like after like the initial like first day or like first semester or whatever, and you just realize that college really ain't that friggin' difficult. Um, if you have and again, like, we all have our own internal ways of doing things, but if you have the discipline to study or to get your work done, like, and any one of us like has internal discipline like that, you can crush it. Like, I know guys that are getting like, PhDs, because they just, I mean, shit. Locke's been in school ever since he got out. you know, it's if
I'm
you
in the same boat,
yeah.
man.
But no, and that's what I think is like I think we need more guys like that or more girls like more military people, prior military service people getting into the education world and getting like doing what you guys are doing, just kind of getting stories out there and finding out what's wrong with how it's been, and I had this in my notes a little bit, that the I think you guys doing something like this and being in the world of education and actually putting some research and and intellect into it. That's what's gonna keep OIF and OEF vets, our generation. That's gonna keep us from going down the same route that the returning Vietnam veterans went through. Um, and obviously, it's a long road. It's tough, and you know, and it's probably gonna be an uphill battle for both of you guys. But I think it's the hard work that you're putting in now that's really gonna make a difference for, like you said, like if whenever that next big conflict is, after that's over, you know, hopefully the work that you guys are putting in now, in the world of education is gonna pay its own dividends, for the next generation of warfighters out there. Um, sorry about the tangent. Yeah, so as far as getting out and like that was a whole other experience with me. Like I had to find over time that you don't need much to be happy. Um, and it was actually my ex. I won't use names or anything, but she was a mental health counselor. She had her own aspirations in life. She, I think Jose alluded to this a little bit when you guys' past conversations, that she wanted to tell me what was wrong with me without even listening. She's like, okay, so you have PTSD, because like I wouldn't sleep for more than 4 or 5 hours at a time, tops, and it was very rarely in a bed. Um, and she was like, okay, so you have your nightmares, you have trouble sleeping, um, whatever it is, like whatever other symptoms. Like she was like gathering all this stuff and like telling me like, oh, you need to go talk to somebody, you need to go talk to somebody, and I'm like, yeah, I like, can you back it down just a second? Um, so I think that's like the biggest struggle that I had, was like everyone wants to tell you what's wrong with you without even asking a single question. Um, so obviously that relationship kind of failed. And I just kind of, after that I was like, you know what? Um, for whatever reason, like I just thought like maybe interpersonal relationships are just not for me, on the romantic level. So like that was the one thing I always kind of said, up until last year. I always thought I made peace with the fact that I was going to be single the rest of my life, and have a house full of dogs, because you can't have cats, and I don't want to be the cat guy on the block. So I think that was like one of my biggest struggles, was adjusting to that, between, like I said, like the workplace, working in corporate America, there was friction there. Um, you know, I got out of I was going through school, while I was still with my ex, and like it just, professionally, like it was going school was going great. Going to UMass Boston was going great. Um, but her and I just didn't connect, on that level, probably because it's not that like I can't talk to anybody about it. It's just, do I trust you enough to talk to you about it, or to give you that kind of information, like, and I just never really think I had that with her, and I never really thought that like it was possible to find with another person. Um, Again, not the way to approach. Uh, that's not advice. That's just me saying, I had the wrong image of it, or I had the wrong approach to it. So I think it was, yeah. So I'm just gonna kind of I'll push forward to where I'm at now. Um, it's weird. Like we talk, obviously, you guys talk at length about September 11th and how these huge national, events kind of shape our framework of how we live, and everything. But I don't know if you guys remember 2013, the Boston Marathon bombing. That, and like to me, like that was the exact same gut punch that 9/11 was, and it was my backyard. You know what I mean? Like the fight has legitimately come home. It's not like I know where this is. This isn't images of New York burning. Um, this isn't news images. This is like I go down this street all the fucking time. Like I've been, you know, this is my home. Um, so the whole story with that was, I was coming from a VA appointment. Like I said, I was living with my ex at the time. She lived, about half an hour south of the city. I was coming from a VA appointment, and I just heard it on the radio. They didn't even know what it was. So this whoever the DJ was on that day, and he said like, yeah, I think there's like a gas explosion or something happened to the marathon finish line. So and I just pulled in the parking spot, my parking space. So I was like, all right, whatever. Like go home and let the dog out and everything, and I just flipped on the TV, and every single station was, um, IED attacks at the marathon finish line. And again, like same exact feeling you had as being a 15-year-old freshman hearing about 9/11 for the first time, and I was just like, "Fuck this." Um, Jumped in the truck. So like again, don't know what don't know what my role is going to be, but I'm sure you could use an extra set of hands. But the situation developed to that point to where like state troopers were like blocking off highway exits. They basically wanted to kind of shut down um, mobile transportation in the metro Boston area. Um, so like I tried going through back roads to get to the site and everything, and I thought it was one cop out blocking the road. I wish I got his name, and he basically said it. He was like, I was like, do you guys like, is there anything that I can do? Like, can I just get there? And like he saw my stickers and everything, and oh no, he saw my tattoo. That was it. I don't even have any stickers on the truck, but he saw my tattoo, so he's like, look, brother, like I think he was an army infantry vet or something. Like, he's like, look, man, trust me. He's like, right before you showed up, a bunch of FBI SUVs just went in to process the crime scene. So like this whole thing is shut down. Like he's like,
Mm.
all the casualties now they're at the hospitals. People are giving blood. Like he's like, I A, can't let you through, and B, no one's getting in here because the everybody's got to process that whole crime scene. So again, one of those like weird feelings of helplessness. You're like, yeah, well, fuck. So after that, I started taking. I took probably every police exam I ever heard of, whether it's Baltimore or L.A. or right here. It just happened to work out that I was hired here, and again, it was just more of a, I don't want to be the one to have this happen again and not be able to be in some kind of role to do something about it. Um, and yeah, so I guess fast forward to now, where again, like I don't need much. I got my place. I got the dogs, and to me, like that's again, it, it's it's not much, but the fact that it's mine and the fact that I'm still here, living, breathing, and aside from a few concussions and some tinnitus, all my digits are still working. So I really don't have much to complain about. Um, and the funny thing is, like, when I do start going down that road a little bit, um, there's one of the guys I work with. I won't say his name, but he's a. The funny thing is, like, him and I were. I was new. I was a boot for the Fallujah deployment. He was a senior guy in weapons. I want to say he wasn't a tow gunner, but he was basically mounted the entire deployment. He had his leg blown off, basically um, from the quad down, and he and like the first. So I met him. We were partners together, and I had no idea what his story was. We had after talking after 8 hours, we realized that the world becomes a lot smaller, especially when you're in the grunts, and started like learning about his story and like he took his prosthetic right off. He's like Davila. Like he's a total open book about everything. Like he'll make jokes about it, and it's to him it's like, yeah, this is who I am. So I'm just like thinking to myself, like, again, but like whether it's fate or happenstance or whatever it is, but like if he's here doing the exact same job I'm doing, you know, down one leg, like, come on, dude, like, how bad is your life? To think about it
Yeah.
that way. Not to say that like, and the weird thing is that like I was even thinking about this last couple of days that when it does kind of get overwhelming, like the thing is that like most of my adjustment problems always come from I'm sure Josie knows what the actual technical term is, but survivor's guilt. Why am I here when Wayne isn't? Why am I here when Farrell isn't? Why am I here when Latour isn't? And I've never had a suicidal thought in my entire life. Um, but after trying to process that internally, um, and again, like everybody kind of everybody works through their own, you know, through their own thoughts and feelings in a different way. But I can easily see how someone would, that can kind of overwhelm you to the point to where um, you don't see any alternative. Um, but and I don't know. I've had my moments, and I know I know I can talk to you guys about it. I don't know if you've had anything similar happen, but the weird thing is like and obviously physical fitness is huge with all of us, but when I'm trying to like kick my heart rate up or trying to like motivate myself to like, no, you got to burn this much, you got to, you have to get your max heart rate to something, like you find anything and everything to motivate you internally. And the one thing I always think about is a all of you guys and everything that you're doing and everything you have done for me, um, and without overtly um, trying to bring back those memories, it's like you just get what was I doing the other day? I was on the assault bike, and I was doing intervals. So it's that last interval. It's like, all right, I need every single piece of internal motivation because my legs are absolutely smoked. Um, and I started seeing flashes of faces, whether it was Farrell or Latour or Wayne, Sharp, all these other people. And I was actually I was in the gym alone. We were actually closed. But the owner, he's great. He's like, if you want to bring the dogs and if you want to do your workout when we're closed, that's totally fine. So I was like, all right. And I just remember like everything just all at once. It was just like one flash of a face after another. And I got off the bike, and like I said, my legs are fucking smoked. So I hit the ground pretty hard after that. And I wish I could say it was like, I shed one like Navajo tear and like just fucking continue to march. But nah, dude, I was fucking howling. Uh, just thinking about every guy that sacrificed everything so that you and I could come home. Um, and like I get to that point, and like like I said, I was just basically a shrimp on the floor, and it's weird things that pull you out of it. I'm sure if maybe if it went different, maybe if I was alone, like I might have given you guys a call, or I might have given somebody a call. But I felt a wet nose on the back of my neck, and I felt like pressure coming from the right side of my ribs. So the one that I had, the black one that I have, Bandit, he's never seen me like this. The other one, Memphis, the brindle dog, I've had him for 10 years, so he knows a lot of my mannerisms. He is the one sitting next to me, or like he's got his ass pressing against me, and he's watching both doors, the only two doors of the gym. And Bandit's like kind of like just curious, like, dude, like he knows something's wrong, but he just doesn't know what. And Memphis just kind of like, all right, you're gonna work through your shit. I'm gonna watch the doors right now. And now that was enough to like kind of like get me up at least and start like walking through it and talking through it. And like I reached out to a former coworker. He's actually a really big veterans advocate, especially up here. Kurt Power, um, Army Ranger, was in I want to say the if not the invasion of Iraq, but that time frame. Um, and he's got an incredible story in his own right. But he's even told me man, and this is one of the things I've always agreed with Lieutenant Colonel Cabinets was like, dude, like we owe it to them to live the best life that we can possible, and and to make the difference in the world that they can't anymore. Um, like yeah, we all signed the same oath. We all knew the exact same risks, and for whatever reasons of fate or just pure luck that we're here and they're not. Um, that having to remind myself about that every time I kind of hit the wall has been one of the things I've always learned that even if it's just maybe you don't become a politician that changes the world. Maybe you don't start your own entrepreneurship and and start another charity or whatever your path is like shit, just make the world a better place because there's plenty of people right now that we all had to hear that stupid fucking bell ring during the last roll call ceremony um, that don't have that opportunity anymore. So I think that's been like one of the biggest things about adjustment is trying to find out what works for me. Again, there's no cookie cutter definition. There's no approach that's universal to it, but that's what works for me. Is that like you have to keep that in mind. Um, but I don't know. I don't know if you guys have. What do you guys do? Is that I guess that's what I'm really curious about. Like, what do you guys
Dude,
do?
first off, I appreciate you sharing that shit. I mean, honestly, with me, that you about had me going there talking about your dogs, because one big thing for me was I actually recently just had to put down my black lab. He was almost 16 years old. I had him basically right after high school. Got him like a year before I joined the Marine Corps, and then like that was my dude. And your story there, they kind of it's weird. You hear about service dogs and people with service dogs. That shit does work, and it was a tremendous help for me after I got out, just having him, that companionship. And it's just weird how they know and they can pick up certain things about you and your behavior. They just know you a lot better than you think they would. Um, so that definitely helped me. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's weird, and something me and Jose have talked about, especially like early on in kind of the first time we chatted, was just, I don't try to live my life with those memories and things like just constantly revolving around, but I do like to refresh myself on it, regularly, just to remember what keeps me going. And kind of what you said is that it's almost like the secret. Like you say, everything's different for everyone, and different things work for different people. But just living like a simple, happy, once you find that simplicity and the happiness, and know that you don't, need everything that you think you might to make you happy. That's kind of the secret. And that's all you have to do to pay that back to them, is just enjoy yourself, enjoy your life, and appreciate what you have because of that sacrifice. Um, like you said, it doesn't matter. You don't need to be top of the mountain. If you want to be great, I mean, great if that's what motivates you, but um you can be just Joe Schmo working at the convenience store. As long as you love your life and you're happy and you're, appreciate where you're at, that's all that matters. So
Yeah, man. In 2012, I had I wouldn't call it a slip up. Let's just say that I struggled. I struggled hard. I mean, low places that just dark. And I didn't have anybody to chit chat to other than my mentor, and even then, I was still trying to piece it all together. I never had time to process. Like it was just like you did this and then get out. It was like literally a month and a half, and
Yeah.
I'm still banged the fuck up. And then my injuries started coming out of nowhere. Um, and I found writing, that was like my major catharsis. I was able to put it onto paper, then into the digital space, and then I just kept working at it. But even then, it was still very, very difficult because I was still trying to find something that's you're basically traversing time, and you're picking apart abstractions that are is just so powerful. And if I look at it from the philosophical sense, right? So what makes ideology dangerous or good is that abstractions pervade time and space, and there are certain kinds of abstractions that have lasted literally tens of thousands of years, and that's what makes them dangerous. And for me, what I figured out was if I don't talk to somebody about it, or if I don't find a way to alleviate it or put it somewhere where it's positive or optimistic, then what ends up taking place, and what ended up taking place, was I ended up suppressing it all. And then I used to think that flashbacks were a fucking joke. And then there I am trying to go to Great Clips, get a fucking haircut, and I smell and feel the heat, like burning wood or something. And dude, there I am having a fucking flashback at Great Clips, GSR'd the fuck out, sweating, and I'm back on a fucking patrol, and I'm literally in two different space times. And I didn't know what to do with it. Like I was like fucked up. Not only that, I had a really bad problem. I almost ended up, probably shouldn't say this, but this is the reality of mental health. I almost ended up killing 4 individuals when I ended up getting out, like literally almost killing them. And as a result of it, like my body went into this like shock, and I became like a hermit for like 4 years of my life. So I had to deal with a lot of that, like violence, I couldn't project that. I couldn't I'm not a killer anymore. Like that fucked with my brain. Um, And so I found, so ended up, going through all that process, and you end up finding little things that end up helping you out specifically. And there is no antidote, there's no panacea. And I think that's what a lot of guys, especially the younger guys getting out. It's like, look, you're going to have to go at it alone. It doesn't mean that you're completely alone, but you got to figure out what works for you. What works for me might not work for anybody else. And that's the problem with mental health in a lot of these academic institutions, that they try to create these universal platforms that are just not conducive to the context and the situations at the granular level, especially specific stories of how those things affect you. And so I did that, and what ended up coming out of it was I kind of needed to accept that. It's something that Joe told me before he died. We used to stay up really late, in the CFC on our third tour, and he used to tell me, he's like, whatever you do, bring the guys back home, bring them home, bring them the fuck home. Doesn't matter if they're bruised up, beat up, just bring them home. And I kind of realized then that bringing them home wasn't good enough. Like, you got to see it all the way fucking through till your last fucking dying breath, man. You got to see that shit fucking through. And so I use it all. This is my life. Not one of those guys that's trying to live in the past and I'm some kind of fucking has-been. No, it's the fact that I actually give a flying fuck. Like, I'm able to fucking finally say that I love these men because of something that is so indescribable, and these experiences bond us. And I owe a debt. I have this duty, and I'm going to see it through. And so I use all that entire thing, and I do the fucking work. Whether the work is waking up every day at 3 a.m. to start my fucking rituals, PTing, hydrating, smiling, going to work, whatever it may be. That's what I do. And my life isn't perfect. There's a lot of ups and downs, man. There's a lot of ebb and flow anxiety that I get, that I deal with on a daily basis. And so I listen to all, those motivators. And there's one thing Joe Rogan says, is like, he does stressful things throughout his weekly rituals, so that when he goes into new novel situations, it's not unusual. He doesn't have anxiety. He doesn't have any of these things. And that's kind of what I do. I put myself out there. If you're not if you're not living uncomfortably, then you're not really living. And that's where complacency comes in. That's where stagnation comes in, and you don't evolve as an individual. And not that, I don't like living in the fucking glory days and the heydays, but a lot of that I dedicated my whole life to. Like, I grew up in the Marine Corps. And even still, I'm still growing up within that framework, because everyone that I'm involved with, my network involves every individual that has, served in some kind of capacity or is serving in that capacity. And so I could probably talk about mental health in my entire story, from the moment I got out to this point. And
Go for it. I want to hear it.
no, man, it's just no, it's a day in, it's a battle day in and day out. There are, like, for me, man, it's like the enemy doesn't fucking sleep, so why am I gonna fucking sleep? But I also know that I need rack ops too, so I can be the best version of myself every motherfucking day. And I got to the point too where it's like, all right, the guys, they passed on. What the fuck are you gonna do? What the fuck are you gonna do? You're not a fucking victim. Suicide isn't in your constitution, but I understand it. So what the fuck are you gonna do? And the only thing I know how to fucking do is fight. And so I find every possible fucking way that Americans can get killed, or we can get hurt, or our community can get hurt, or be, compromised. And then I use that, and then I fucking fight. And that's what I do. I mean, it's not 24/7, it's a battle, but there are moments. There are my moments that I do have. And like I said, it's taken a culmination of going on 10 years now. And let me go back a little bit about Operation Khanjar in 2009. We used to joke around about being bomb squad, and a lot of that stuff was just to, like, ease the tensions, the reality. And it almost seemed like we were just, our squad was attracted to IEDs. And I prefer a gunfight over an ID any day, and I think anybody else, but I don't think I think our squad was ready to evolve. And the situation with every unit, I'm sure there's always those individuals that make the experience tough. But that is a reality of what it is that we do when you try to bring in different personalities from across the spectrum across the United States. It's very difficult to try to ameliorate that situation and to be in a cohesive unit. But our squad was ready to evolve. Our squad was ready to do its mission, what we signed up to do. But it wouldn't have taken place if certain things didn't take place. And I do believe, and I firmly believe that if Grubbs hadn't left the squad and you hadn't taken over, we would have been fucked. I mean, just completely fucked. The buffer zones were collapsing. The threat was real. Something was shady was going on with our command. We were always left out of the loop, but we still had you. And it's just something that you can't put into words when you say, thank God that you came in, because we would have been fucked. Like, literally fucked. It's just, and I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to do with that other than be a grateful motherfucker day in and day out for those experiences. And maybe that's just what it is. It's just I'm a grateful motherfucker that shit did go down and I got to experience that. And I'm here right now. A grateful motherfucker.
You are a grateful motherfucker. And I will say one thing. He's saying all this shit to you, man, even after you gave him fucking shitty pros and cons because he was too angry. So
But it worked, didn't it?
This rotten fuck. This guy. 4041. 4041. Hey, Shu. Why are you giving me these fucking pros and cons? You got an anger problem. Who in the fucking Marine Corps?
You're like, yeah, look around. We all got anger fucking issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
at least I was open. At least I was open about my psychoticism.
This was my whole thing with that, and I don't know if you and I actually kind of I don't know if we have ever really touched on this. I always admired your passion, and you were like, same with you. Like, you want to do fucking 2-3 patrols a day. You were like, anyone that's busting outside OP shithole, I was like, I want to be on that train. So I always respected your tenacity. I always respected, the fact that you're very passionate about what you care about. It's something that's, again, you can't train it. It's just innately embedded in your persona. All right. That's just the kind of person you are. The only caveat that like I said, the only thing that I found it was you are one of the best leaders that has come out of your generation. All right. And again, this is not me blowing smoke. You already got pros and cons. All right. So, like, this is me just kind of trying to elaborate a little bit on it. So, but seeing a leader lose their shit because, again, of all the things to lose your shit about, like, no, Jose, you can only go on 2 patrols today, or you can only go on like 1 patrol a day. And like, you get like legitimately like pissed off. Like, and I'm just like thinking to myself, like, I'm not saying that you're wrong for being angry. I'm not saying that you're wrong for having that reaction. Just the only thing I was trying to wake you up with a little bit was, you want to lose your shit, do it amongst your peers and not amongst the people that look to you for guidance and advice, and for when the fucking when the shit hits the fan. All right, like, that's really the only real motivation behind that. Was just to kind of like give you like a little bit of nudge in the right direction, like, hey dude, like, I'm all about it. Like, I mean, Mexicans make the best fighters on earth. I mean, shit, Canelo Alvarez holds how many belts nowadays?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's just, and he's a ginger, by the way, Jose. But like,
a ginger Mexican.
A ginger, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, man.
Fuck.
It's
Dude, you guys remember in Ramadi? You remember seeing those redheads, dude?
Yeah.
And you're like,
Even
man,
in
these were the invasion kids. Like, the time
Even in the-
frame, the time frame worked out right. And you're like, wow.
Even in little jug room, like we would walk down there, and like, and for whatever reason, like, nobody else did, and well, that speaking of anxiety, that place fucking makes the hair on your neck stand up because everything is an enclave, or it could have been a pressure plate, or they could just throw whatever the hell they want to, and like there goes half the squad smoked. But like you would see the little like the ginger kids speaking like Pashto and Farsi and everything. It's like you're the like I'm sure there's like a little Russian seed inside you, buddy. Like I don't know if you realize this yet.
Or the British, man.
Yeah.
Oh man, those guys were a trip. I mean, we didn't get to talk to them too much, but those guys, speaking of crazy, or speaking of savages.
Yeah.
Why don't you walk us through Shu? It's kind of a serious topic, man, but you were kind of abused, man, and that's you're in 2009. Why don't you share a little bit about that?
We're talking about sexual trauma. Okay, all right, yeah, let's go ahead. And this is like this was far removed from anything that's been hitting the headlines the last couple of years. But I was actually waiting for you to get to this. I was glad you remembered. So I mean, Paulie, like obviously, like we were, you guys were in your own fob, and like it was weird. It's like different worlds and different deployments, like depending on which platoon you were with or which squad you were with. Sometimes.
Yeah.
So you remember Zimmerman, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the fuck. And again, like just one caveat.
That motherfucker was in my fire team when I was a boot.
Yeah,
We were boots.
but where else in a friggin' Marine Corps infantry grunt unit can you friggin' can you have Jose, from where'd you grow up again? New Mexico?
Say again.
Where'd you grow up again?
I was born in Texas, and then grew up in Artesia, New Mexico.
Okay, so
New Mexico, folks, not Mexico. New.
But like, where else can you find a kid who basically like lived off of hand-me-downs in New Mexico to having me from being up here in Boston to Shrek, who grew up in Chicago, and then you throw Zimmerman in the mix. Let's call a spade. He's a rich Jewish kid from Beverly Hills, and we all have the same job. All right.
Yeah, right.
Like, where else in the world do you get that? I don't know, but if it does exist, I'm probably gonna seek that out for for my next career opportunity.
Yeah.
But it's so like anyway, so that's that. I just want to throw that out there for the sake of the story. So I don't know who. I think Shrek had like a mini DVD player, or a laptop, or Deanie sent him something where like he could like play movies and shit, and like she would send him stuff on like a thumb drive, I think. And one of them was the movie Waiting. All right, now this is 2009. I'm not sure when Waiting came out, but it was not fucking new. All right, this was not a new movie. Like I think I'd seen it at least a couple of times in the barracks. All right, so whatever. Zim hadn't seen it before ever. He didn't even know about it. He's like, what are you guys watching? Sits down. And he thought the penis showing game was literally the one element of his fucking life that just never came to fruition until that very moment. All right. So for the rest, I was already the squad leader at that point. So like for the, I don't know, maybe not, but it doesn't matter. For the rest of that deployment, Zach was playing the penis showing game at every didn't matter if you were on patrol, didn't matter if you were on post, didn't matter if you were friggin' like at the hygiene pit, all right, or taking a dump, like every opportunity he could to
Fucking abused.
Yeah, exactly. To traumatize the rest of us with showing his junk, and then of course, mercilessly ridiculing us for being homosexual after that. That was obviously that's just in the rules. So, so I'm actually I joked on Josie. This isn't a joke. I'm actually 100% disabled just from the sheer trauma of having to see Zach's junk every single day for 6 months straight. The VA is like, wow, okay, shit, you got it. And that's I think that led to a couple of good call signs. My favorite was Jose's meat gazer whiskey, and then I think was it Paulie? What was Machine Gunner Hansen? The section,
Right.
Do you remember his first name? Was it Jared?
Jay. It would have Jay. Jared, I think. Jared
Yeah,
Ham.
so Jared came. He got the silver medal for that one because he was the turret gunner for one of our convoys, and he chirped up. And again, like he had like the best uh, dry satire punchlines that I think anybody
Yeah, oh
could deliver
yeah.
with. Like because like this, like he's just not like an overtly like humorous person, but like when he delivers, it is like a freaking grand slam every time. And it's like I was like, all right, so from back to front, I was like, all right, everybody, give me a comm check, Roger up. And he rogers up on the radio just saying like meat wagons lock cocked ready to rock, let's go ahead and bust out. And I'm sitting in the friggin' VC seat and just like, well, somebody was gonna say it. I'm glad it was him. Like I'm glad it was somebody that could actually deliver without like snickering like a little schoolgirl. um yeah, and he didn't even smile.
Oh
That was
yeah,
the best
dude.
part. He would never smile.
Yeah.
So so thus lies my deeply embedded traumatic experiences through through leadership.
Damn, I'm sorry to hear that happened to you,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Oh, yeah.
but it's but if you think about it, all right. So just put things into context a little bit. All right, this was after Vincent, and I want to say after Farrell too. To be in an environment like that after you start losing more and more friends as time progresses. All right, it's very easy to dig yourself into an emotional hole. Um, just thinking about that, or thinking about is my ticket going to be punched next? Is it going to be my is it going to be Jose's ticket next? Like obviously, like, as a leader, I always thought like it's always my worst fear was always something happening to them. I don't care if it was like they fell off a freaking ladder trying to get on post. Like that was my greatest fear in the world.
Yeah.
The only thing I can equate it to is like my dad always told me. He's like obviously like my brother was he went a different route. He went to the Air Force as an officer. Um, and but he even said he was like my biggest fear in the world is having to bury one of my children. And I had no idea what he meant up until um, I was putting up until Hawk and Wendy said it's your show now. I'm like, all right, so these are so these 12 lives matter more than yours ever will. All right, at least the time that we're here. All right, but like being in an environment like that and not having someone to break the ice and just break up the monotony, and it's like
Yeah.
it's a very dark. For as beautiful as the whole AO was, it was just this desert oasis between the canal and the fields, and like you stand on top of OP Rock and like looking around at like just the landscape of this place. Like this is like something out of a fucking dream or like a dream movie. But it was one of the most violent fucking areas in the globe. Um, if having all that weighing on you and not having someone that can just whip their junk out while you're on patrol and then just call you a faggot for the next 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm not a proprietor of the word, but it's
No,
we're
that's
all
the
it,
culture though. That's just the
yeah. So
culture. If,
yeah, so and that's what he would do, and just like what, if you didn't have that, it's a very dark place, and it's a very dark reality that you're gonna have to. We all come to grips with it eventually, but you don't have to right now. And I remember talking to Doc Smythe about it, and speaking of somebody that has survivor's guilt, I'm a firm believer that there are angels on the battlefield, and we do call them Doc. After everything happened with Wayne, you know, I could tell like he never like overtly like came to me asking about it, but he just kind of said like he's like I'm just running through every scenario like in my head right now, and I'm just like, look, that's natural, but don't do it right now, because like right now, focus on the mission, focus on the rest of the guys that are still here, because you're gonna have the rest of your life to go over every single what if, like small facet, shoulda, woulda, coulda, um, decision that, or shoulda, woulda, coulda, um, piece of your story or a piece of like what happened. So don't crawl down that rabbit hole now. All right,
yeah.
like you put your focus on everybody that's still here, and trust me, you're gonna cycle back to that whether you want to or not. Like it's your demons are gonna come back, at 0 dark 30 at some point. So face them then and focus on these guys now. Um, so and I think that's how I think he took the right way, and I spoke to him I want to say like a month or two ago. It might have been further, but he's got like, speaking of talking to somebody who has had his own, like he's had quite a transition, um, between, I'm not going to get into his personal business, but right now he's come out on top. I believe, I think he's in a great place, and like I said, like it's for us, it's like, and you guys, like talking to Gigstat about stuff like that, like, yeah, like we're here to fight, and like we all know what we're here to do, but it's like you have to do the exact same thing, because guess what? You're not carrying, you're not empty-handed on the battlefield. You got a rifle in your hands too. Um, but you're also, but your priority is the welfare and the care of the men that's been appointed to you as a corpsman. And every time I meet one at like a fundraiser or whatever, like I just like, it's literally, it's like you know, I have two kinds of heroes. One are the men that, I served with and served under and had the absolute privilege to lead, and any Navy corpsman, Army medic. Like it's basically,
Yeah.
you just have like both worlds, and you have to find that balance, and like it takes a special kind of tenacity to do that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, man. I mean, I agree 100% with that. Kind of you got to have those moments where you kind of check yourself a little bit, and having somebody that helps you um notch you down a little bit on the
Yeah,
seriousness, and
yeah,
that it's
yeah,
just it's a good mixture to have,
yeah,
so you don't, you know, kind of get too lost in it. But um yeah, one thing, I mean, I think Herrera and I have talked about is just getting guys to talk and share their story. A lot of dudes I've have given feedback to me, guys from the unit, and I'm just like, yeah, man, come on, and bullshit with us, and they don't know what to say, and I know I think that everybody doesn't necessarily think that their role in the grand scheme of things, think they played a substantial part, but everyone did. And I think the idea behind this is that when you can get somebody to come on and talk about it and share their experience and the things that they deal with and still deal with, it makes people more comfortable in understanding what they're going through if they can't, put a thumb on it right now and be like, and that's all this is, man. It's like I've said, it's never going away. It's going to be with us. We're going to take it to the grave whenever that ends up happening. It's not like it's a taboo, the things we experience. I mean, decade later, we're sitting here telling stories like, like they happened last week. So yeah, I appreciate you coming on and going into it like you did. That was awesome. You got anything you want to say? Any points you want to make? Or I mean, yeah, yeah,
like
you
it's
you came
so
prepared, man.
no, I literally, like, I was like, the last thing I wanted to do was to be on here and just go, like, just mentally take a shit and not have anything contribute. Like, and like this is just literally just me scratching stuff down. Like, it's prompts. It's not like I want to like read this whole thing like front to back. Um, but I one thing I do want to touch on a little bit is, and again, like everyone's different. We all handle our own, our own adjustments individually. But I found that um, when it comes to your outlook on moving forward in the next chapter in your life, or or at least a transition or whatever, and like I think this is a daily thing, that it's not just, all right, one day you get over it, and yeah, and then life just kind of marches on. No. So I think that you guys talk a lot about mental health, which, suicide, all these very important subjects. I just so I did a little bit of looking into it, um, and this is just my belief, that this was it the six different kinds of health, are all just, they're all interconnected, and when one starts to sway, I think that the other ones kind of domino with it. So just being mental health, physical health, social health, spiritual health, emotional health, and environmental health. Um, I think that all six rather, all six are very key to all this, and I think that a lot of the guys who, and the girls too, who find the who struggle the most, I think that something has, again, like, we woke up every day at 0 dark 30, you went formation, you PT'd, you got your workout in. Jose did too after, he did one before PT, and then after he got off work, he went to the gym after that. So,
And then a knife
no,
training session in
yes,
outside the
yeah,
barracks.
yeah, and then my favorite was at Hassanabad, and like I'm talking like in the dead of night, but like it was a full moon, so I could see. Like walk like, and he's supposed to be sleeping because he's got post like in a couple hours, and like shirt off. It's black silkies with friggin' boots on, doing wind sprints, doing suicides up and down the side of the pot. And I'm just like, and he was actually pretty quiet too. Like I was like, this fucking ninja is like,
Yeah, yeah.
don't- like I like he sleeps like 3 racks over from me. I gotta have one eye open. Like like don't sleep on Jose, man. But yeah, like if like he like physical fitness has always been like a huge facet in his life. I mean, all of our lives, obviously, but I think that if one of these things, mental, physical, social, spiritual, emotional, or environmental, if something either kind of like lags behind or gets a little toxic, then the rest are just gonna, the rest are gonna fall with it. I found that, and again, like I'll bring it back to my story. I mean, I still fit into your design.
I was gonna say
Like
something, dude. I
fucking,
said, I wish I
like,
had a bigger
uh,
size, but
oh
I'm
man,
fresh
no,
out
no,
too.
no, no, no,
I'd
dude.
send it up to you.
No, dude, like this keeps me motivated. I was like, if you can't fit in that friggin' medium that you could back in, 2011, like, you time to get the fuck back to work. But like I used to be like, when I first got out, like, I had the dogs, like we would run. I would get him his exercise in. But like other than that, like, my girlfriend at the time, she did CrossFit. I really never fell into that. I mean, like I supported, like they did a lot of fundraisers for troops and stuff like that, and I always thought it was like a great because I liked it because it was very team oriented. Like you go to a gym, it's like you're not just working out by yourself; you're doing it as part of the collective team. So like I always agreed with it that way. It just wasn't per se my thing, and absolutely nothing against it. I think it's great. So um, I found so like I basically like besides running, I really didn't have much. So like I kept living that college life, not having a freaking job to go to except 2 or 3 classes a week, plus a couple of online ones. Like, yeah, a few more heavy beers, a few more shitty diet choices, and I was 50 pounds heavier. Um, and then just out of luck or happenstance or whatever, actually, I think I was doing it because I wanted an internship through the gym owner. He had just opened a boxing gym, so I needed the internship, and this was just the best way to go about it. I talked to his cousin, and as she said, she was like, go there, like that, like he do like a personal training session with him, and just let him get to know you a little bit, and he'll probably just I doubt he'll say no, like with your background and your story, and like you're basically volunteering to be free labor, for the city. No one's gonna turn you down. So so I did, and I just like again, like I was, between bad diet choices, cigarettes, and just lack of movement. Like I wasn't. The first training session was an hour, and I was absolutely smoked. I was driving home in the truck, just thinking like euphoric how tired my entire body and mind was because I'm not only learning a new skill, I'm you're just using every muscle in your entire body that you didn't even know were there. So woke up the next morning, alarm went off to go to class, and I went to go shut it off and reached out and went, oh, like everything is sore. Everything is sore. I'm just like, all right, it's like gut check time. Like you either have to like you either have to go into this 100% or at least leave your lifestyle behind because it's like, so I haven't touched tobacco since. My diet, obviously, like I've changed a lot about the diet. Like who doesn't like to treat themselves, but everything in moderation, including moderation. So I just found that boxing was kind of that was the one thing I think was missing for me was like that physical health, because there wasn't a fucking there wasn't a platoon leader saying, all right, everybody freaking boots and utes, we're gonna do our run, and then we're gonna like we're gonna hit the pull-up bars and everything like. So to me, it was like I find that um, going and doing group related physical activity, I think that it kicks off so much of not this checklist, but of all the aspects of someone's health. You get, I mean, I don't know, like with the pandemic and everything, gyms are kind of shut down, or I don't know what's open for different people. But if you can go there, interact with somebody, take a class, and I don't care what it is, like yoga, swimming, whatever the hell it is, if it gets your body moving, you know, and it kind of like gives you a little bit of exposure outside of your own head. I think that's a great way for a lot of people to do it, or for a lot of people to kind of like segue into how they're gonna continue on in their life. I'll give you just one example that I wanted to get on was Colwell Wheezy. He hit me up. This was years ago. And he was. I'm not gonna get into his personal business, but he was going through a bit of a rough patch, and he just kind of says like, "Dude, I don't know. It's like life is just getting, not getting a woman. He's like, life is just fucking, you know, moving past, not moving past, but he's like, I got so much going on all at once, and like things are set up so I can attack it later, but he's like, just right now, it's like I'm just, I'm in this weird headspace, to where like I just feel like stagnant. I'm like, okay, um, and I thought about it, and I was just like, I was like, well, have you ever thought about picking up like something new, whatever? And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, they're like, at this time I'd been boxing for a couple of years, still very new to it, and I was like, honestly, dude, like I go there and I train, for even like an hour, like my day just instantaneously gets better. Whether it's the dopamine release or the endorphins or the fact, that you're focusing on something outside of your own head, you have to be present for it, or else you're going to get touched for it. Like you can't be distracted in between the bills. So, unless you want your nose on the other side of your face. But so I brought that up to him, and he found he was in, I think he was in right side Detroit, somewhere in Michigan. So he found this Muay Thai gym, and different gyms operate differently, obviously. But he went in there. He's like, yeah, I'm just kind of looking to learn. So like with Muay Thai, it's like, yeah, like you can hit the pads, you can hit the bag, whatever, but you kind of have to have the living, breathing sparring partner, so you can put all the skills together. So he said when he did, like, they taught him a few things, and they're like, all right, we're just gonna, go a little bit of light sparring or whatever. So Colwell, being the warrior that he is, thought like, oh, all right, so it's a fight. Obviously, he's with somebody who knows a lot more than him at that point, and so he said he basically got his nose creased open a little bit, probably like a couple of other like a couple of other a couple of other bumps and bruises. But he said like however many rounds they did, he's like, dude, the kid that I was sparring, he's like, he had this fucking look of like, who the fuck is this kid? Because like Colwell at the end of that was laughing at this shit. He was just like, like, is like, dude, I just beat the shit out of you for 3 rounds. Like, how the hell is this funny? A, how's this funny? B, how you still standing? So and the kid like just kind of like, all right, you go work with somebody else. Like, but he said he's like, I was smiling and laughing because I was like, this is the first time I've felt this way in a long time. Um, and like that was just he just went the Muay Thai route with it, and yeah, again, like yeah, it's it might just be one of those things that's missing. That you learn a new skill, you engage different parts of your brain, like you guys, I mean, I can sit here with a notepad, listen to you guys' podcast, and just like that's something that I need to start looking into, like because you guys stay very up to date with articles, and like I didn't know they fucking canceled 51s. What kind of
Yeah,
shit is that?
I
So,
don't know.
Modernization, baby.
uh, uh,
Yeah,
yeah, but
don't need them till you need them, though.
yeah, exactly.
Oh
So
yeah.
Uh, And you always need them. But yeah, so like I think that something like that, as long as you kind of stay sharp and all the all those different um, aspects of your health, that's kind of key for you know just for how you're gonna go ahead and attack the rest of your battle plan for life, just in general. Um, and I think you guys are, you know, but like I said, like what you guys are doing, it challenges me, and this is just being a viewer and a fan. It challenges me to start looking into a lot of stuff that maybe I don't catch, as far as like you know doing research or staying up to date with a lot of different articles and news sources and things like that. But I sincerely think that stuff like this and what the two of you guys are doing um, is really gonna make OIF and OEF vets. Um, it's basically going to keep us from going down the road that the Vietnam generation of veterans had to experience coming home. As tragic as that was, I don't. I think that with things you guys are doing and what you guys are putting out there for everybody, it's really going to make a difference. So I was just as shocked and humbled as ever when Paulie hit me up and said, yeah, you know, I don't know if you've heard of this podcast. Like, yeah, of course I heard the fucking podcast. Like, you know, but yeah, you know, we want to have you on. And I was shocked, humbled, honored to be selected. But you know, I hope I hope you guys just keep doing this, and whatever you need from me. Um, you know, I'm not that too far. I'm not that far away from North Carolina. I used to drive. I used to drive it in at night coming up and
Yeah.
down from 96s and 72s. So
Hell yeah.
you know, whatever you guys need, by all means, I'll always reach out. And yeah, and I really appreciate what you guys have put together here.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Appreciate you
Yeah,
sharing your
man.
story.
Thank you.
Guys.
Yeah. You hit on a lot, made a lot of good points that I think, you know, it's just good shit for people to listen to. And that's all we're trying to do here. So but
If it makes one dent, then I'll take it as a success.
hell yeah.
You know?
We'll keep grinding out there, man. Keep killing it like you have been. Love seeing the shit.
Yeah, no, you guys too. Like I appreciate everything, and life gets in the way all the time, but I'll definitely be reaching out a lot more than I have been. That's been my policy, is that like I don't reach out as much as I'd like to, but I definitely will be a lot more.
Awesome.
And thanks for giving me Rash's number too.
Yeah, no problem.
We had a good chat right after that.
Oh, did you get a hold of him?
Yeah, well,
Did he tell you? Hey, hold on, I'm gonna shut this down.